Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Seed Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. That really means a lot to me, and I hope it'll be as much a pleasure for you to listen to my podcast as it is for me to share with you what has been on my mind. In the Seed Podcast, I will be diving into what makes friendships meaningful. I am your host, kamogelo, ntuli, bringing you the power of true friendship. We will be exploring what matters more when it comes to our friendships with our close friends and the people we care about the most. So, today we will be discussing what friendship values are and what they mean and how we can put them to practice. We will also be looking at as many perspectives as we can. I believe we can all learn from each other a thing or two of what's most important to us and emphasize it more in our friendships. So, let's jump straight into our first three segments. As you all know, but if you don't, this podcast is inspired by the Holy Gospel, supported by the scriptures Philippians 2 verse 4 and Matthew chapter 22 verse 39. From the book of Philippians chapter 2 verse 4, the Amplified Version says, "Do not merely look out for your own interest, but also for the interest of others." I personally love this scripture because when I think of other people, not only is my heart filled with compassion, but also with the need to redefine what friendships actually mean for me, and I hope I can share that with other people as well, including those who are close to me. And as well as Matthew chapter 2 verse 20, chapter 22 verse 39, the New Living Translation says, "The second is like it, love your neighbor as yourself." Personally, I can only learn to love other people if I know how to love myself. If I know what's important to me, I should have the understanding that it's also important for someone else. For instance, if I know I did somebody wrong, I know I have to apologize. And also, concerning the other party, I know that if they are thinking the same thing, they'll also apologize to me as well. So it's a 50-50 or 100-100. You can put it however you like. The first segment is the foundations of friendship. And as you all know, we do not build any friendships or anything at all on shaky foundations or in environments that are not eco-friendly but also safe. So speaking of friendships, we build based on words. We use our words to either build or to destroy something. Words are as powerful as they come. They are either a blessing or they are a curse. Why am I saying this? The reason why I'm saying this, we've been blessed to be peculiar and not anything else. So what I consume, what comes out from me, is what has been predestined from the very beginning. If I was born to bless, I cannot curse. I cannot put that within me to do something that I'm not supposed to actually do. We make promises. Sometimes we do keep them, sometimes we don't. But words are also supported by actions. What I have promised you, I have to act upon it. Hence why it's important to use our words wisely and check our behavior as well. And then one more thing, it's feelings. Our feelings when it comes to friendships or relationships are very important. If you have a friend who does not consider your feelings, in my own opinion, that friendship is most likely not to survive or succeed, however you want to define it. But you cannot be in an environment where when it's time for you to be heard, nobody wants to listen to you, or when it's time for you to be seen, people are ignoring you, or when you're experiencing something that's traumatic or that is putting your health into risk. You have to have a supporting system around you, which are gonna be your friends in this case, but because we don't normally talk to our parents about our struggles outside of the house, especially from school, whether it's work or just life in general. We always confide in our friends. Most likely, sometimes it's only one. So, what actually matters when it comes to starting or developing an ongoing friendship? Lucky number one, we have our dear friend, trust. Trust, which is easy to obtain and just as easy to break. It can be given or planted, given the benefit of the doubt that it will be sustained. And trust looks like for me is knowing that I can go to sleep knowing that tomorrow I won't wake up on TikTok trending because of something stupid that I did, that I shared with my friend, and then he decided to backstab me or something. But that's how much trust I have to have with my friend. Why am I emphasizing trust? I'm emphasizing trust because it's the one thing that actually either breaks or makes relationships. Why? It's because without trust, there's nothing that I can share with you. There's nothing personal that I can tell you and be content with the fact that you either won't go around sharing my business or spreading rumors or something like that. But trust is vital when it comes to our friendships. It builds or breaks, always. Without it, there is no friendship that can actually last, not even a season. To give an example, I had this other friend of mine who confided in me with what was going on in his life at a specific season. So we were trading together, and then it so happened that he asked a family member for some money, and then he promised them that he's gonna have returns in a week or so. And then obviously that didn't go well. So in this season, I was the one who was profitable in that period of time. And then when I heard that he had promised that specific family member that they'll bring returns back at a specific day, I intervened and we traded together, and then we made some profits. So I decided to share those profits with him, and I gave him some money, and then he went back home and shared those profits with that specific family member. So I told him that yes, we are gonna get the money back. He shouldn't worry. he put his trust in me, but I couldn't exactly trust him with a lot of things. To explain why, it's because people have a tendency of overreacting. Instead of communicating their problems, they choose to act first and then explain after. It so happened that one or a couple of his belongings once got stolen. So he decided to break windows, break the tables inside of my uncle's home, because he had thought that he was the one who had stole from him. So after analyzing that whole situation, I asked him, why did you not instead come and talk to me and ask me, did so and so happen? Instead, he chose violence. So that broke our trust as a friendship together, because I would have preferred him coming to talk to me and ask me, this is what happened, this is what's lost, and how are we gonna deal with this? Because he was the one who was at fault. He didn't lock his room. Secondly, he thought he had lost his phone, of which he misplaced it somewhere else. So there were a lot of things that were wrong the night before all that happened. And it pained me to see a childhood friend act that specific way. Instead of communicating with me, they chose to act how, no, I don't want to say how the family members act, because that's wrong. But he chose to be loud, to be violent, and act some way wretched. We'll use that word, wretched. So a while ago, or even currently, knowing that I can come to a person and lay out on the table what troubles my heart, or that I did something wrong, and the person I'm sharing with this is not going to judge me. Instead, they're gonna listen to me, not thinking that I'm a bad person, but as a human who makes mistakes and acknowledges, and instead of canceling me or cutting me off, they'll advise me and correct me. I believe by having that kind of foundation as a friendship, it can be perceived as steady. It's steady because I honestly think if I don't trust people in my life or the environment that I'm in, I should not expect any growth or sustainability. Everything will crumble without a warning. It's important to have a friend who you can confide in, who won't judge you, who will understand that you are human and you make mistakes. And then, lucky number 2, our dear cousin, empathy. So what is empathy? Empathy is about understanding and validating each other's feelings. In my own opinion, the most popular feeling or act when it comes to friendships is empathy. Without this, I don't see things working out, and I'll tell you why. People who are empathetic are people who pay attention to you, who notice when your behavior changes, who notice all the different kinds of seasons that you go through. For instance, if you have lost a family member or you are going through a career drought, a friend will normally acknowledge that, by asking you, are you okay? Are you fine? Is everything okay? Another friend will pay attention to your behavior, what you're doing currently and what you're not doing, what you said you're gonna do and you are still not doing it, procrastinating. An empathetic person always pays attention to how you act. If you have a friend who never asks you what's wrong, how are things going, and what are you doing to better those situations, I don't perceive that friendship to be a friendship that I can call steady or a friendship that's gonna last in any way. I believe that we all go through a lot of things. Mainly, some of the things we don't even get to talk about them. And it drives us to a point where we get, no, I won't say anxiety is light, but we develop anxiety and we get depressed. We isolate ourselves and we become very antisocial. Our self-esteem goes low, our confidence goes low. A lot of things start to change when you are going through something and you are going through it alone. Because the reason why I didn't choose, but the reason why Matthew chapter 22 speaks louder than volumes, if that makes sense. Love thy neighbor as you love yourself. If your mental health is important to you, you should also understand that somebody else's mental health is also important as well. An example, if we're in a dispute and things don't go well whilst we are in a dispute, I'm thinking if we both leave without agreeing or disagreeing, but instead we leave and things are unsettled, either one of us is not going to sleep, or we're not going to concentrate at work, or we're just going to lash out. Some of us have problems. But if something truly does bother you, I'm speaking in regards of, how can I call it? Either we can call it intuition or just the soul being grieved on its own. We have a lot of love for people. Love to a point where we don't want to see them upset with us or just upset at all with anything in life. So we get to a point where we have to sit down and talk and assess the situation of what's actually going on and why is it going on. Because empathetic people focus more on feelings rather than what you say. It's important for them to understand what you are feeling and if they can put themselves in your shoes or something. So a person who is empathetic gives you undivided attention. They don't respond by saying, I hear you or I feel you, although that is necessary, but that's not what a person who is venting wants to hear. Empathetic people give responses like, I can or can't imagine how difficult it must be, or I'm sorry that you're going through this all alone, but I want you to know that I am here for you If you need anything, remember that you're not always alone. Those are the verbal responses that they give. Instead of telling you that everything's gonna be alright, they'd rather ask you so that they can put themselves in your shoes and potentially understand what you're actually going through. Pain is pain, depression is depression, death is death. There is no levels, but we experience it in, how can I say, in different portions. An example of a non-verbal response. A non-verbal response from an empathetic person looks like there's eye contact to show you that someone is actually listening to you. There's facial expressions. They will be expressing concern, compassion. Yeah, those two. Mainly those two. Hence I said empathetic people focus more on feelings. So they're gonna be concerned as a start. They're gonna feel compassion for you, for what you're going through. And what you can pick up from that is that they understand your situation even if they are in disbelief of whatever the topic is at hand. So eye contact, compassion, concern, those are the main three that an empathetic person will visualize for you in order to show you that they are listening, they are concerned, and they actually are sorry, or they feel what you are feeling. So, and last but not least, but before we get there, we spoke about trust and empathy. When it comes to trust, it's important for you to know whom you're talking to, why you're talking to them, and if you feel safe enough for you to express yourself in any way with them. Because if you trust a specific person that you're gonna what's that word? Vent. If you trust the person that you're gonna vent towards, that means you know that person will be empathetic towards you. Why am I saying this? When we are in trauma or in sadness, the first thing that we need is to feel comfortable around someone. And you cannot feel comfortable with someone if that person is not empathetic. An empathetic person is a person who expresses their feelings in everything that they feel and experience specifically. Trust and empathy are important. And last but not least, our dearly beloved sister. I'm calling them, trust is our dear beloved friend, empathy is our dearly beloved cousin, and then communication is our dearly beloved sister. I'm just having fun with the words. You'll be fine. What is communication? Communication is okay. I know we all think we have PhDs in communication, but we actually don't, because communication is not as easy as I, E, O, U, or anything like that. But communication is about listening and expressing yourself honestly. And this can only be achieved by what is called a platform. There always has to be a platform that you set in friendships. where all our voices can be heard, not just one person or anything, but there always has to be a platform. Why am I saying this? If you don't think you can talk to your friends about anything, then honestly, there's a problem. There always has to be a platform where you can voice your concerns, voice your hardships, and if you want to confess, I don't know, anything, but it's important for that platform to be there always. A platform that you set and say, whenever you need to talk, I'm here. Or whenever you need something, just know that I'm listening. If you need someone to talk to, always know that I'm listening. And then communication looks like in the midst of arguments. Maturity comes in instead of screaming and shouting and throwing of things. Two people sit down and talk about what the problem is. I once saw this other video on TikTok. This girl she actually said it in a poem and said, why is it that you always look for greener pastures instead of nurturing the ground that you are standing on? So when she said that, it reminded me of a quote I once heard and said, you keep saying things are not working out. You keep saying friendships are falling apart. You keep saying things aren't going well, but you never ask yourself, what type of environment are you in? The type of environment that you're in, it's either it will be fruitful or unfruitful. Unfruitful meaning or the ground is dead. It does not produce anything at all instead of death. That's the only thing that lives there, although don't mix the two, but it's death. The only thing that will live in an unfruitful friendship, it's death. But a fruitful one will produce all kinds of fruit, proper communication, lots of trust and empathy, and more will be discussed on the next episode. But for now, we're still discussing communication. Communication is important to a point where matters can be resolved with just a mere apology. If not a mere apology, just a small conversation by acknowledging how wrong you are. Explaining why you did something, if you did something wrong, or it'll help you strengthen a relationship or a friendship. Why am I saying this? We spend way too much time alone, isolating ourselves, reading books or watching videos, but we never focus on the people who are around us. We never take the time to sit down with a friend and explain to them what we're going through, how we're feeling, and how we can get out of that specific situation. Communication is not there. If you don't have something like that with a friend, I don't understand how that friendship is gonna work out at all. But to emphasize my point even more, communication is the utmost importance. We keep way too many things to ourselves that we should be telling our friends. By telling them, there's a lot of freedom that comes with that. The atmosphere or let me just say your soul is gonna be freed. Because why? You spoke about something that you've been bottling up, if not years, a couple of months or weeks. We tend to not want to talk about specific things because they're either too embarrassing or they are, how can I put it? It's either probably you might think that maybe your friend might not take that specific thing seriously. If you are involved in a friendship like that, it's better you address it now, talk about it and fix it. Because, to make an example, I have this friend of mine, you guys probably know him, he's on a podcast as well. I decided one day that I'm going to talk to him and ask him to join me at the park because I needed to talk to someone. And surprisingly, I did not know how it's gonna go or have any expectations of how that conversation is gonna go. But to my surprise, I vented out, and then his response was not similar to my situation, but he understood what I was actually telling him because he also shared his fair share of his own experience and what he went through and what he's still going through. So I discovered that I'm not the only one who has issues or is going through something. After having that discussion with him, a lot of thoughts in my head became clear. I was free from a lot of overthinking, especially upon the issues that I was discussing with him. I realized that it's better to share and talk about your struggles rather than keep them to yourself. Hence why it's of the utmost importance for you to have communication in friendships. Hence why those three specifically are my foundation. Anything else after that, they're gonna be pillars, you name it. So those are my three foundations of a friendship. Also, one more thing to share. In the past 2 years, going back to 2022, I was not compelled, but I was eager to pray about something. So one day I decided to pray for my friends, and I asked God to keep those who are going to be of value in my life, and those who are going to disturb me regarding my purpose and the course of my life in general. I asked God to remove them. To my surprise, everybody in my life left. Then I spent about a couple of months, if not 6, without any friends. And I decided to pray again, to ask God to involve people in my life whom are going to help me, who are going to be of value in my life and regarding my purpose as well. And he planted me in a church and then decided to give me those other 2 friends of mine, which are crazy. But what I'm emphasizing a lot more is that pray for your friends. Pray regarding their purpose in life, especially concerning your friendship together. Ask God if there's any way for you guys to prosper together and to do this life thing together. Also ask him to remove certain people. Don't be specific with names, but be specific in what you want and what you want to see. Because since I prayed about that specific thing, I can say that the circle of friends who are around me, there's no one whom I can look at and say, I'm not gonna work with that person. Everybody who's in my life right now, there is something that I'm going to do with them, if not now, in the near future. So it's important to pray. It's important to ask specifically for what you want and what you desire. But I'll tell you more in our journey as we do this podcasting together. As you know, I am your host, kamogelo ntuli, bringing you the power of true friendship, and we are exploring what matters more. Please do like and subscribe. Press the share button. Tell your friend that you have to watch a podcast with him because it's about us. Also, if you have your own podcast that you'd like to launch around Pretoria, you can send your information there in the comment section, and then we will hit you up. This was the Seed Podcast, and thank you. I will see you again very soon.